Okay, I know Elisa has amazing things to share, so let's get started and kick it off. Welcome everyone to this Smart Music webinar about preventing teacher burnout. My name is Ryan Sargent. I lead the content and education team here at Make Music. I have a headshot and a bio that is mostly about me being a recovering trombone player and recovering middle school band director. And I love technology and I love my job. And it's wonderful that I get to stay engaged with music education and all these things that have been part of my life for so long in my role here at Make Music. Obviously, I'm a big fan of smart music and all that stuff too. I live in Colorado, here in Boulder. And it's my honor to introduce Elisa Janson Jones, who is also a Colorado music educator, and she's going to talk about self-care and preventing burnout and all of this stuff that isn't always easy to hear that we need to hear. So I hope that everyone has a wonderful next hour. This webinar is part of our kind of education initiative here at Make Music. The Make Music education team is responsible for all sorts of stuff that's about getting information to and from educators like you, whether that's a clinic at MEA convention or a video, a webinar, articles, resources, all of that kind of stuff, or giving smart music trainings. So like I said, it's one of the reasons I love my job, and it's so great to get to stay involved with this amazing community of people, burned out or not. If you have questions and comments during this webinar, definitely use the chat function at the bottom of the screen. We'll have some time for Q&A at the end, and we'll go through all the questions and hopefully get everybody the answers they need. Without further ado, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and turn it over to Elisa. So a virtual round of applause as we get started.
Okay, well, thank you, Ryan, for that fabulous introduction. Like you said, I'm Elisa, and I am super happy to be sharing with you some of my top tips for self-care to prevent music educator burnout. So first of all, if you've got your chat window open, go ahead and introduce yourself. Just tell us a little bit about where you're from and what you teach. And most importantly of all, what is your number one frustration? I know you probably have a lot of them, or you wouldn't be here for this particular workshop. But what is your number one, one that is in your throat with pain, bothering you? So go ahead and type that into the chat window if you have a chance or desire to do so. All right. So welcome, everybody. We look forward to having you with us for this particular training. Also, it's now time to eliminate all of your distractions, close out all of your other browser windows, put your kids on hold in front of a device or a book. I have 3 kids myself, 2 of which, one is home, one's at marching band, and one is about to get home. So if you hear some stomping around, it's just my little one coming home from school, who will then sit down and start reading. Turn your phone onto silent and get out a notebook so that you can take notes as well. Or you can open a Word document or a Google document, even better. So does this sound like you? This is specifically for music teachers, as you probably already know. And maybe you're feeling unappreciated or unsupported at your particular position. Maybe you are frustrated with poor classroom behaviors going on in your school. Maybe you're feeling a lot of out of work-life balance. And if any of these sound like you, just say, yes, 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 that sounds like me. Maybe you're feeling unhealthy, constantly battling illness. Maybe you feel a lack of energy, a lack of patience, a lack of enthusiasm for your job right now. Maybe you're burned out, or maybe, and I think this is even worse, you're worried you're going to be, because you know the reputation of music education and of the percentage of burnout. Have you ever changed a job to avoid burnout? Maybe you're in a new situation. Do you feel like you work too many hours? You have too many groups, too many ensembles, and way too many expectations and not enough support for those things? If that sounds like you are in the right place, because we're going to talk about it. So this is my professional headshot, and I'll spare you my bio in text form. But I have written a few books. This is the Music Booster Manual, Best Practices for Music Educators, the Music Educator's Guide to Thrive. They're all available on Amazon right now. I also have a blog, the professionalmusiceducator.com blog. I have some workshops on there, totally free. I do an online grant writing course, lots of great resources there if you're interested in that. I'm also the host of the Music Ed Mentor podcast, which is another awesome thing that Smart Music and Make Music help me to distribute throughout the world, which is fantastic. I'm also the director of the International Music Education Summit, which is a 3-day online professional development conference for music educators, of course. So it's professional development you can attend from home, still completely live, very much like this workshop that you're attending. I'm a frequent guest speaker and presenter. I presented at the national conference in Dallas last year on this very similar subject. And I am the director of our local community band. I actually have my first rehearsal tonight. I'm super pumped. I'm also a business consultant. I have an MBA. That's a Master of Business Administration, not a Master of Band Administration, although it's very much the same thing. And I like to think of myself as an efficiency expert. Like I said, I do have 3 kids. They're at 3 different schools right now and not the school that I teach at. So we are juggling 4 school schedules right now, including marching band, which is amazing. And I also recently got married. Is this seeming ridiculous to you? This seems ridiculous to me when I look at it all on a page like this. And of course, I teach full-time K-8 music, elementary, choral, and band. And we just started a ukulele group. So that is about it for me. Today, my promise to you for this workshop is practical strategies, practical ones, not hypothetical ones. These are time-tested practical strategies that you can implement today to stave off burnout forever. And this isn't just from my experience. This is gleaned from longtime music educators. I'm from a family of educators. My dad just recently retired after 40 years of teaching and currently mentors student teachers at Brigham Young University in Provo, Utah. And of course, I have had music teacher friends, and I've done survey work. I've done lots of great research. I've taken courses from life coaches. A lot of this comes from entrepreneurs. And of course, I'm not going to give you anything that I haven't tested myself in my own crazy, busy, amazing life. Okay? So some specifics about what you'll learn. How to enjoy your job, no matter what your current situation is or the challenges that you face. Not classroom management, not administration changes, anything like that. You're going to learn how to enjoy it. We're going to talk about what you need to do to turn things around starting right now. We're going to talk about exact steps that you can take daily to prevent teacher burnout, to be proactively preventing it. So not waiting until it's last minute and you're freaking out and you don't know how you're going to be able to go in the next day and then you start working on it. That's like going to the doctor when you're sick, right? We're talking about how to prevent getting sick in the first place. And of course, how to find time for the activities you crave. Easy ways to feel better throughout your day in any given moment. And how to obtain the work-life balance that you feel that you might be lacking. And how to better manage your classroom behaviors like a pro. So, why is self-care so important? Why are you here today? Why do you think that it's important for music teachers to know? Go ahead and type it in the chat window. If you have any opinions about that, share it with everybody else who's here, because it's not just my opinion that matters. Here are some recent survey results. Have you experienced teacher burnout? Was the first question on this recent survey. This was last year as part of a master's project. Not mine, but somebody else's. And she let me borrow the data. So thanks, Liz. Anyway, out of 439 responses, almost 90% said that they have experienced teacher burnout. That's 9 out of 10. That's kind of breathtaking to me. Have you experienced that as well? Out of the people who have changed jobs within teaching to avoid burnout, 60% have not. And that says something about us for our fortitude and our stamina, right? Have you considered leaving teaching? Most of us have, or at least most of the survey respondents, right? And yet most of us haven't left. 90% of us are still in it. We feel burned out and we still do it. It's because we're so committed to it, right? We spent so much time getting our college degree and so much time doing all of this training, and we stay. So if we can come up with better ways to not be burned out and still stay, isn't that the ultimate goal? I think it is. So a little paradigm shift in your thinking before we get started. Okay. There are many things that might make you feel burnt out. And the number one, hands down, from all the survey work and everybody that I know, is administration. If you don't have a supportive administration, you're probably going to really struggle in your job. Your finances, and that's like the lack of support, the lack of funding for your school programs, a lack of appreciation, poor classroom behaviors, disrespectful colleagues and students, feeling like your class is just the dropping ground and your class is just the prep time for everybody else, right? Maybe you feel like the complexity of the job, this ginormous workload, right? We have the most complex job in the school and we feel out of balance. And the list can go on and on and on. Whatever your reasons are for feeling burnout, the truth is that you can work to change those things. It's an uphill battle. You can be an activist, you can fight for change, you can be a diplomat, you can protest, you can walk out, you can fight for change. But the easier way to do it is to focus first on you, because you are the deciding factor here. You are the professional in your classroom. You are the one who sets the tone. You are what matters. You are the thing that can change. I always, whenever I get to this particular subject, I think I hear Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror, right? And now you all hear it in your heads too. So I will spare you hearing me sing it. That being said, let's talk about you. Let's dive right in, okay? Here are the 7 strategies that we are going to be covering one at a time. So get your notebooks out. This is the core good stuff here. Number 1, release yourself from guilt. Okay. I'm going to give you like 5 seconds to look at that meme because it's epic. And this is probably the reason why most of us don't daily engage in self-care, is because we feel guilty. So why is this particular thing, releasing ourselves of guilt, so important? It's a powerful emotion and will always prevent us from getting started, whether it's a simple item of self-care like getting a Starbucks on the way into school, or a big move for self-improvement. Whatever we are feeling guilty about, it will force us to hesitate. That's just naturally occurring in our lives, right? So the best way to get started on this is to change your thoughts. Start by recognizing when you're thinking negative or guilt-laden thoughts, like, I don't deserve this, or I don't have time for this. I don't have time to practice my French horn because I have grading to do, right? I don't have time to just veg out looking at cabinporn.com during my lunch break because I have all those copies to make, right? Or you think you should be doing something else, right? Well, I could go out, but I should be doing something else. And that feeling of guilt kind of grips at you, right? So the great thing is these are just thoughts. They're just thoughts. And most of the time they're other people's opinions too, right? So if you can recognize when you're feeling that way, you can actually change the thought, and that will in turn change the feeling. So here are a couple of my tips. Get rid of should statements. Okay. You can say, well, I could be doing copies, but right now I need to take a few breaths for myself. Right now I need to step outside and stand in the sun because there are no windows in my classroom. This is true story here. Okay. Or you can change it to, I get to. Well, I should sit down and email those parents. But if you change your thoughts to, I get to sit down and email those parents, I get to be proactive about it, it completely changed the emotion behind the thought. And in that way, gives you that kind of release from guilt. Now, if that doesn't work for you, this should, okay? And it's by shifting it to the fact that caring for yourself allows you to better serve others. So how can you possibly be guilty about serving others, right? I mean, if your motivation in self-care is serving other people first, then where's the guilt in that, right? Also, by delegating, by asking people for help if you need it, you are making other people feel important. And this is a really hard one for me. I have a hard time asking my husband to pick my son up from school when I'm about to do a live webinar, right? But by asking him to do it, he feels important. By asking those volunteers at my school to make all those copies for me, it makes them feel important and engaged in my program. And the same goes for our students. I had a difficult student just today. I literally have been home from work like 30 minutes, okay? And he was a little unruly, right? And pretty much said he hated music class. And so once I saw that he was starting to turn his attitude around, I actually gave him a job to do, right? And do you know what happened? Like that, he was done misbehaving. He felt honored and proud and able to be part of the situation. Also, back to self-care. By spending time on your personal development, it's helping you be a better teacher, a better parent, a better friend, a better spouse. It helps you be more patient. You know all of these things, right? But the very best way, okay, the number one way to release guilt is to practice it, okay? It's to do the self-care even if you feel guilty about it, okay? It's doing it anyway. So I used to teach middle school band and orchestra. This was 10, 15 years ago. My very first teaching job, dream job, opened a new school, tripled my program in the first 3 years. It was amazing and I loved it. But I had babies at home, right? And I always felt like this guilt, like I should go home, be a mom, that kind of thing. So I did, right? And I quit my teaching job to stay home with my kids. And I did that for 7 years. And that's all I did. And I put every ounce of energy and time and power and everything I could into my home, my children, and my spouse. And then one day I got invited to a book club. And it was a once a month book club for a couple hours in the evening with a bunch of ladies from my church, right? And so I was like, honey, can I go to this book club? Like I had not done anything for myself in 5 years. And this was asking him to watch the kids, right? This was like a big deal. And at first I felt super, super guilty about it. But after a few months of it, after just forcing myself to go, I stopped feeling guilty. And I was able to recognize those thoughts and change them, just like I said, to this is actually good for them. It's good for them to have some time away from me. It's good for them to have to support themselves. It's good for my spouse to have to learn how to deal with these small children. And in the long run, it was one of the best things I did for myself. From that, I was able to become PTA president. I then got involved in my master's degree. I then started doing weekends off alone by myself. And I am not the same person that I was 10 years ago, all because I pushed through the guilt and went to book club once a month. Okay, so the number one way is to practice it. This is a little quote taken right from that same teacher burnout survey. These are tips, and I'm going to give several of them throughout from teachers like you. This one says, how they've avoided burnout is you have to take it in stride. You do the best you can with what you've been given. Each year, make steps to make things better. Make time to relax and take care of you. You are the only one who can. And that is so very true, which is why we're going to talk more about how you can do that. So that leads us to number 2, setting boundaries. And this is a really, really hard one for us, I know, because it means that we have to be strict and consistent with ourselves. And so many of these tips, you can do them in small quantities, and over time, it creates this wonderful cumulative effect. All right? I love this little thing of Tori. Oh, look, I'm so overworked. I can't do another thing. Oh, look, a project. I know, it totally sounds like me. So why is this so important? Well, obviously, when there are no boundaries, you're never off the clock. If you're never off the clock, then you're always giving to everybody else and you never have time to focus on yourself. So by setting boundaries, you're allowing yourself that freedom to do some self-care to prevent burnout in the way that you need to, okay? So here's how to do it. Commit to never taking work home. Just in that little teacher survey that I was just telling you about, like 50 of the respondents said, I don't take work home. And I know that's really hard. Don't be afraid to say no to things, okay? I've served on several nonprofit boards in my community. And so the word's gotten out that I like to do that. And I've got invited onto 3 nonprofit boards in the last 3 months. And I have said no to every single one. I can't do anything else, okay? And it's okay if it's hard to do. You're not disappointing anyone. Just say no. Minimize and limit your commitments and know your priorities. I'm going to go back to this know your priorities one because this is really hard, right? So there was a study done. This is totally from a TED Talk that this woman was tracking all of these entrepreneurs' schedules, these highly productive people, and to see how they were spending their time. And one woman tracked in 3 days that she spent every afternoon dealing with her flooded house. So this incredibly busy, highly productive woman had to drop everything for the most important thing at that time. And that makes you think, if it's truly important to us, we'll find the time for it. We'll do what it takes to find the time, right? Oh, I see, Elizabeth. I love it. How would I ever finish anything? You don't have to finish everything. You totally don't. Like Tamari said, it's okay to not finish everything, okay? Dedicate time to the things that matter the most. And by doing that, the things that matter the least, they just tend to not get done. You know, at the beginning of the year, I printed out a list. I don't have a great way to just email all the parents in my classes. And so I printed out a list of all of their emails and I was just going to like retype them. Like for some reason, the program wouldn't just let me copy it into Excel. Anyway, it was weird. So I'm like, oh, a little data entry. I can just bang that out. Yeah, it's still not done. We've been in school for 5 weeks. Don't tell on me, but it's low priority, right? On the other hand, everything from my upcoming program and band concert, totally ready to go, okay? Dedicate time to the things that matter most, and you've got to do it regularly, daily, weekly, monthly. And practice rigid flexibility about this one, okay? Because guess what? I hate bringing work home, but sometimes I do if I'm super, super pressed, but I just don't let it take over. My big thing is Sundays. I just don't do work on Sundays. I don't even open my computer. I don't answer emails. I rarely check Facebook. Sunday's my day where I just focus on me and I just focus on my family. It's awesome. So here's your truth bomb. If you don't dedicate time for self-care, your body will force you to care for yourself. I'm going to say that again. If you don't take dedicated time for self-care, your body will force you to care for yourself. If you find that you're getting sick a lot, like I see 200, 250 kids a day, right? A lot of us do, especially in the elementary setting. We're rotating classes every 30 minutes. If you're getting sick a lot, it might be your body trying to tell you to take care of itself, that you need to rest. It's going to force you to do what it needs to do, okay? Here's another great quote from another music teacher. How they've avoided burnout: not overextending myself, planning time to not be at my job, setting a go home time on 90% of the days, and recognizing I'm burning out and mentally working to avoid it. Okay, a lot of this of self-care is self-awareness too. When I leave school, all the work stays at school. I rarely bring anything home to do, and when I'm home, I'm with my kids. Stuff at school can wait. If I can't get it done in the time I have to do it, maybe it was too much to give the kids to do as well. Oh, I love all of your guys' amazing comments, by the way. I refuse to check my work email on weekends. Amen, Kayla. Love it. So here we go. Number 3, practice being mindful and grateful. Now, this one might be challenging, but I promise you, if you do it, it's going to absolutely shift your entire mindset every single day. It's just like practicing anything else in your life. If you want to get good at it, you've got to do it regularly. Just like my kids who all play instruments, they practice 30 minutes every day, just like all of your students probably do, right? Right? You know, your students totally go home and practice. But the best way to do it is to set aside a time, make it a regular thing, have a time limit set, okay? This is why it's important. Think of your very worst day teaching, okay? Your very worst day. If you could go back in time and change something, change that kid shouting and swearing at you, change that kindergartner from throwing up, right? Change those trumpet players from blasting and blasting. And then the principal walks in and he's like, I need to see you in my office later. And like think about the worst day. Okay. If you could go back in time and change something, the only thing you could change is you, right? You can change the things that happened, but you could change you and how you deal with each situation that hits you. So what if you could go back and extract yourself, accept the situation, shift your mindset, and then see the good happening in the room? Not those trumpet players blasting, right? But those adorable little flute players who are sitting there going C, D, C, D, C, D, because that's what you told them to do when there was other stuff going on, right? If you could turn and look at the good that's happening, it's going to absolutely shift anything that's happened that's going on emotionally with you. Okay. If you could instantly calm down and remember a trick. Well, too much we get caught up in this heated moment. We lose patience, we lose our temper. This strategy, this mindfulness strategy, is the key to in the moment self-care or self-preservation, right? And preserving our rapport with our students. It's also the secret to happiness. Okay. This is one that entrepreneurs, by the way, and business owners talk about all the time. If you've ever wanted to try life coaching or business coaching or anything like that, this is like the thing, okay? You've got to practice it daily. You've got to practice consistently. This is how I recommend you do it. Set aside a dedicated time where you can do this. Sit in silence. Listen to a guided meditation if you're not good with silence. Write in a gratitude journal. Celebrate your successes. Read affirmations. Affirmations are just things that you want to believe, things that you want to tell yourself, okay? Like right now, I'm telling myself, I can handle anything. Visualize your perfect day, your perfect outcomes, and how you would deal with anything that comes your way. And we're going to talk a little more about that. Here's how to do it. Use technology. There's this wonderful app called Insight Timer. I use it every single day. It's got guided meditations. It has a little different bell sounds for starting and finishing times. It's a timer. You can see the 5,000 other people meditating with you at the same time. It doesn't have to be just meditation. At times yoga or prayer or just silence. Add it to your calendar. I use my reminders app. I have 2 sessions a day. I have a morning and I have an evening. And in each of those little reminders, I have a checklist of things that I do. They're my morning routine, my evening routine, every day without fail. Set a recurring event within notifications for if there's self-care things that you want to take care of every week. Okay. Like I said, I use checklist. Okay. Meditate, affirmations, visualization, and gratitude. Make it a habit. Same time every day. And you can do this for 5 minutes. You can do it for 6. You can do it for 10. You can do it for half an hour. You can do it for an hour, however much time you feel like you can really invest. Divide time between morning and night. Like I said, divide these tasks and feel the importance of this. Prioritizes. I know that your alarm goes off at like 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7. What time do your alarm go off? Mine goes off at 4. These days, I'm working to a 3 a.m. wake up. Anyway, it goes off at 4, and I spend 10 minutes doing yoga, and then I do 10 minutes of meditation. I do visualization and affirmation reading for 5 minutes. I spend time reading on my own for personal development, and I write in my journal. And I do that every morning. And I started doing that because I needed to be better mentally and emotionally prepared for every single day. And it has absolutely worked. On days that I miss it, I'm impatient with my classes. I lose my temper relatively easily. And the whole point, sorry, I'm digressing here. I'm totally going off. But the whole point of this is to practice feeling happy. Okay. It's sitting there in silent meditation and just feeling love and just feeling happiness. And I know some of you are probably rolling your eyes. Stay with me here because there's other stuff coming too that might work for you. This isn't going to work for everybody. Anyway, so if you can practice that feeling, that happy, mindful feeling, then you can tap into it at any given time. So in the moment, and this happens to us every day. Every day, it feels like there's some kid who won't stop talking in class, right? And you're waiting and half the class is waiting and the kid's oblivious to the fact that the entire class is waiting on him and you just want to scream in his face. But here's what you do instead, okay? You've got to be silent. First, take some deep breaths. Look at a totem, and we're going to talk more about totems later. Explore your senses. And this is one that I actually have learned from psychologists. So you start with 3 things that you can see. What do you see? I see the pattern of paint on the wall. I see those music quotes. I see that note from a student saying, "I love you, Mrs. Janson." My kindergartners call me Mrs. Janson. It's so cute. And, or you know, what are 3 things that you feel? Have a backup activity ready to go. So if the class is totally digressing, then you just go, okay, we're going to just stop right now and go to something else because this is not working for us. Okay. So all of those things are things that you can do in the moment. All right. Here's a tip from another music teacher. When I have overcome burnout, it has been from intentionally taking a positive mindset and from creative problem solving, such as inventing a game to review pitches on the staff, taking time to enjoy my students for the goofy people that they are, has helped as well. By taking that moment and focusing on all the good stuff that's happening, it completely calms you down and shifts the entire feel of the classroom. If you're angry, if you're antsy, if you're the person who's creating that, then by backing it off, your students will reflect that behavior as well. Okay. So that leads us to number 4. Thanks for staying with me on that one. Obviously, I'm like, yeah, practice being happy, peeps. Then you'll be happy all the time. Establish routines. And I've told you that all of these things create like this cumulative effect, right? So you do a little bit every day, and over time you're like, wow, I'm feeling so much better and happier, and I'm not burning out at all. I'm enjoying my day, and I'm able to deal with my classroom behaviors better. And that teacher who was super rude to me in the lunchroom, it just doesn't bother me anymore, right? And that's because you need to create routines that regularly establish these feelings and these habits of self-care that you're developing, okay? And why is this important? Of course, it's because random practice means random results and little to no progress. So consistency is key. And by having a routine, you'll get that consistency. Okay. Self-care needs to be a habit, not a novelty. Okay. Taking yourself out for coffee is great. If you do it once every other month, it's slightly less great. Then it's novelty. It's not self-care that needs to be happening all the time. So here are some great routines to consider. You can have a daily routine. I already told you I do morning and evening, weekly and monthly routines. So let's take a look at daily. You should treat yourself every day. Whatever a treat looks like to you. It doesn't have to be like a sugary treat. For some reason, all my students think that a treat is a sugary treat. I'm like, no, we're just going to watch this like lava video, right? Morning and evening, set yourself up for a great day in the morning, and in the evening, prepare yourself for tomorrow. You're going to discover that you have more time if you're more prepared. You're less stressed out if you're more organized by prepping your day before. By the way, big high five to those of you who already prep yourself the night before. Go ahead and type it in the chat window if you're like, yeah, I totally prep myself the day before, right? Here's how I recommend starting your day. And this is not from me. This is from a book called The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. So if you want to write that down, it's going to be on this slide too. He recommends taking care of all those self-care things in one big chunk of time in the morning. And it doesn't have to be huge. Like I said, you could start with 5-6 minutes, work your way up if you want to. Exercise. You know you need to be doing it every day. You know the great effects for your body, your health, your mental and emotional wellness is stemmed around exercise. Taking that time for silent meditation to practice happiness, right? Reading affirmations to convince yourself you are as awesome as your students think you are. Visualizing your day so that you're mentally and emotionally ready. Taking some time to write out your thoughts. It allows you to track your own progress, which is awesome. And some time for reading to prep to improve your cognitive development, okay? To learn new skills and to take care of your body, okay? I drink a liter of water first thing in the morning, and it makes a huge difference. I'm just saying. Okay, so a couple of different resources for you here. Like I said, The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. This is not from me. This is totally from him. And my book, A Guide to Thrive, The Music Educator's Guide to Thrive, also has more step-by-step for you on how to do all of these things. So here is the really hard truth bomb. Hands up for those of you who immediately pick up your phone when you wake up in the morning and look at your email and Facebook, maybe Instagram, right? I mean, let's admit, a lot of us probably do that, right? But the truth is, if you do that, you relinquish your sovereignty, because your email and Facebook and all the other social media stuff, that is other people imposing their desires on you. I guess unless you send yourself an email the night before, that might be fun. Anyway, so don't relinquish your sovereignty. How you start the day sets the entire tone for the rest of your day, just like your warm-up sets the tone for your entire rehearsal. So if you start by checking Facebook or your email, you are allowing other people to set the tone for the day. You're giving up your power to manifest what you want to happen and immediately go into triage mode. Right? And that's just not a great way to set yourself up for the day. So take a few minutes. Don't check your email. Don't check your Facebook. Don't do any of those things that are going to relinquish your own sovereignty, and let it wait. Okay? Have a nice, quiet morning. Here's how to end the day. Okay? Spend some time planning ahead. Take care of your body. Turn off your devices. Do something that you love at the end of the day. Be grateful. I keep a little gratitude journal. It's separate from my other journal, although a lot of gratitude ends up in my normal journal too. It's just a dedicated notebook I keep by my nightstand, and I try and write in 5 to 10 things that I'm grateful for that day. Okay. And then do some reading for fun. Some great resources that I love. The Urban Monk by Pedram Shojai, and You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. Okay. Two of my very most favoritist, and they're written for entrepreneurs, to be honest, but we could learn a lot. So here is my number one top tip. Okay. Because I get asked a lot how I'm able to do all of those things that you saw on my little introduce myself slide, right? I'm able to do all of these things, and I still spend time with my kids. I still spend time with my husband. I don't totally lose my mind. I still have time to do webinars for all of you. Mostly it comes down to efficiency. Okay. And I have partially my business management degree to thank for that. And I do a lot of tricks and life hacks to create more time in my schedule. So I practice polyphasic sleep. I am a minimalist. I don't own very much stuff. I don't have a large wardrobe to have to choose from. I have a very limited diet. And to be honest, I sometimes do lose my mind. But the one thing I do without fail, my number one stress buster that I can always recommend, and if you do nothing else, is this. It's to plan ahead. It's that 10 minutes before bed when I've just tucked my kids in, and then I go into my room and I pull out my little planner, and I found that for me, paper works best. And I always like to find like a really nice notebook. I should have brought mine downstairs, but I didn't. It's leather and it has like a tree on it. And when it's full, I'll go to Barnes and Noble and use a gift card that a student has given me, and I'll find a nice, another fancy one that I enjoy touching, and I use a fancy pen. Anyway, so I sit down and I write out my whole next day. I write what time I'm going to wake up, and I write everything that I need to get done and when I need to get it done, and things that I do for myself, get a star, tasks that I need to do, get a circle, appointments I need to keep, get an arrow. And it's just my own little system, and you can create your own. But this is the number one tip for success. It completely avoids decision fatigue because I've already planned out what I'm going to wear. I already know which exercise I'm going to do, and I already know what I'm going to make for dinner. Okay. So that is my top tip for efficiency. Now, you should also have a weekly routine, okay? Something that you do once a week to treat yourself. Like I said, I take Sundays to not work. And I always spend my Sunday morning out on the trail if I can, whether I'm mountain biking or I'm trail running or I'm hiking. That's like my little weekly reprieve and self-care item. And whatever that is for you, whatever makes you feel amazing with yourself, that's what you should do at least once a week, okay? Assess your progress personally and professionally. Enjoy your hobbies, take a bath, whatever makes you feel amazing, make sure you're doing it at least weekly. Every month, have another special treat for yourself, okay? I try and get a massage once a month. It's hard to do, but I try. Meet with friends and mentors, enjoy a live performance, bring in someone else to help you out in your classroom. Set yourself up for success by creating these best practices in your life, these routines for daily, weekly, and monthly progress. And that's what this book is all about, Best Practices for Music Educators. I collaborated on it with Fernando, so you can check it out on Amazon as well. This is another quote from that same survey. Prioritize. Your job isn't 100% life. Life is. And I just love that. All right. This is probably my favorite one. Okay. And I was thinking about it all day while I was at work. Surround yourself with totems and simple pleasures. Okay. I wasn't joking that my classroom is dark. There's no natural light. And I miss that because my old classroom was this rotunda in the front of my school. It's called the Sacred Space. And it had all these beautiful stained glass windows. And it was not safe if we ever had to do a lockdown, it's totally not safe. It was all windows. But I miss that natural light. So what do? I go and I step outside and take in some sunlight when I can. It's a little simple pleasure. Today I did that and actually saw my principal out there doing the same thing. We get so caught up in the moment in our classroom. The other day I was starting beginners on their instruments and I was working with like the trombones really specifically, like here's how you hold it. It's 2 on top, 2 on bottom. And I'm really involved. Somebody came in and took pictures and I had no idea until they showed up. I'm sure it was my assistant principal, by the way. It wasn't like some voyeuristic thing. Anyway, but somebody came in and took pictures and I only knew this because they were posted on the bulletin board one day. And I came walking by, I'm like, wait a second, that's my class. How did I not know that somebody was in my class taking pictures? We get so intensely focused. And yes, I hope you're all laughing at me for that one, okay? We forget to take time for joy until we're looking at every day as completely joyless. So if you do nothing else, do your nightly routine, okay? Plan ahead. That's your efficiency one. But this is how to really thrive every single day, okay? Make a big deal about little things. Put these little reminders everywhere you go that remind you why you're there and the important things in your life and things that you just enjoy, okay? I go through all of the things that make me feel good. I go through my senses. Okay. What things do I enjoy seeing? I wasn't joking about cabinporn.com. Okay. If I'm just needing to calm my brain down, it's literally a website just full of cabin pictures from around the world. It's awesome. Okay. What do you like to touch? What do you like to taste and smell? And what do you like to hear? So go through your senses and then surround yourself with these things, okay? Here are some examples from my day yesterday. I drank some LaCroix in the shower. A little simple pleasure, all for myself. I use my favorite mug at school, okay? I have a blanket in my desk drawer, which I can pull out and snuggle with whenever I want. This is so embarrassing, by the way. I make my room smell good. I use these, I like this particular smell because every time my students come in and smell it, they go, it smells like cookies in here. So, thanks, Elizabeth, for posting that link to cabin porn. I'm actually really impressed that my school computer will still pull it up. And I'm going to totally take advantage of that. Another one that I really like too is This is Colossal. It's an art blog. Thisiscolossal.com. Anyway, make your room smell nice. I have this mini fridge filled with LaCroix. So I've always got something good to drink too. Okay. So what are your totems? What can you look at to remind yourself at any given time to tap into that feeling of happiness that you've practiced so diligently, right? You've practiced it and now you see that mug, you see that blanket, you see that LaCroix, you see something that reminds you to tap into that feeling and to practice it. Put cute quotes on your wall. If you like memes and comics, maybe you have a candy jar on your desk of your favorite Jelly Bellies. Maybe you are like me and just like to stand in the sun. You can wear your favorite clothes. You can dance around to your favorite music. If I've had a particularly stressful day and I'm headed home and I only have a 15-minute driving commute, 45 if I ride my bike. Anyway, I will listen to my favorite music and I will literally jam out in the car and I don't care what other drivers think. But by the time I get home, I'm refreshed and I'm happy and I'm ready to take on my school-age children without freaking out. Notice beauty all around you and have lunch with colleagues and friends. Like I said, whatever makes you feel that joy. And I have to tell you, this is particularly important on your busiest days. And you can usually foresee the busy days, right? For example, on October 11th, I have mass in the morning, which is like a performance. And then I have a dress rehearsal followed by a performance of my kindergarten, first, second grade, and my middle school choir all combined in the afternoon. And then I've got a band concert that night. I've got a guest horn soloist coming in from Colorado Springs that same day that I have to host as well. So I can foresee that day is going to be stressful. It just is. So I'm going to set myself up for success. I'm going to plan ahead what treats I'm going to give myself. I'm going to wear my very most comfortable, favoriteest outfit that always makes me feel and look amazing. Probably boots with my fuzzy, happy socks underneath. Nobody needs to know that they have a swear word on them. And so you can kind of prepare yourself. And then throughout those stressful days, notice the beauty around you. Look at those totems. Look at all of these amazing things that you have in your life and appreciate them. And it can turn your entire day around like that. So here's your next top tip. Treat yourself in little ways several times every day. It's like a little chant you guys can totally groove out to, right? Treat yourself in little ways several times every day. And this almost more than, okay, do the nighttime organization thing, totally change your whole world. But this is number 2, at least for me, is every day, these little joys, these little reminders of why I do what I do, why I love what I love. Okay. Thank you, Jill, for your comments. I love it. She says, I have light up things everywhere. They make me happy. Turning off the light after 4 classes in a row and seeing all of these fun light glowing, I feel peaceful and happy. It's my time to stretch. I love that. And I bet that makes such an impact in your day. All right. Here's another quote from another music teacher in our survey. I truly feel like burnout is a choice. Yes, the job is stressful with the hours, student and parent issues, endless logistics, coaches and faculty issues, and balancing family life with work life. But in the end, my job is my passion, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to teach what I love. Plus, I have friends, family, and coworkers who are supportive and help keep it all in perspective. Some days and weeks and months and years are harder than others, but the moment you stop learning should be the moment you stop teaching. Don't let the multitude of things keep you down. Save those emails from parents and students who have given you the credit you deserve and fall in love with your job all over again. That is such a beautiful statement, isn't it? Number 6, totally caveats into that. Take a holistic approach. It must be so funny and well run. I'm going to take this second to just take a drink of water so you can appreciate this meme. And chuckle time is over. Okay. Why is this so important? If we are truly looking for work-life balance, we may be looking for something that doesn't exist. Truly. There's so much more to it. And we need to look at all aspects of wellness to find out what we're missing. Okay. So this technique is a little more advanced. So if you're just like really close to burning out, you can't imagine how you can go in tomorrow. Start with planning your day and taking some totems and releasing guilt. Like, start with the easy, low hanging fruit. This next step is for those of you who want to go even more. Okay. So you know how one of the most common complaints is this work-life balance thing? Well, we're really good at recognizing this feeling, but we aren't great at discovering where we are out of balance in our lives. We may think that it's just our family, but it could be something else entirely. So by looking at every aspect of our lives, every aspect of wellness, then we can actually start to identify that it might be something else, some other area that we can focus our time and attention and improvement and goals and all of that good stuff on. And that will help bring us back into balance. I think of it like this wheel that you should see on your screen here. It's got 7 different cogs to it. And if any one of them is missing, then you're going to feel a little lopsided. Okay. If you've ever tried to ride a bike with a broken spoke, it just doesn't work. Okay. So being able to go through like all 7 of these and identify areas of weakness and where you can really then focus in on the stuff that you're weakest on, then you can make that a strength again and get that wheel back into balance. Okay. So we're going to go really quickly through these. You need to be physically well. That means preventing illness. It means having energy. It means having strength and stamina for your day. If you find you're missing those things, then it could be your physical wellness that needs some attention. And you know what that means? Diet and exercise, right? You could be suffering in the area of financial wellness. By being financially well, you have much less stress, right? If you know that the money is going to be coming in, that you can support yourself, pay your bills, take care of all of your needs, that's going to lower your stress. Also, financial wellness gives you freedom and confidence, and that requires budgeting and planning. You need to have some cognitive wellness, and that means continuous learning, continuously challenging your mind, increasing your knowledge. Like, for example, if you find that your classroom behaviors are really bad, then maybe you need to spend some time learning more classroom management strategies and then engaging in them, like trying them out. Some aren't going to work, some are. And so just trying those out, making it a fun experiment, like making it a game for you to test out these different things and see what works best for the students in your classroom. Like, doesn't that sound like fun to do? Anyway, I'm all excited now. Having hobbies, right? I started playing guitar when I quit teaching before to stay home with my kids. I bought a guitar. I had not played guitar, and then I took guitar lessons, and it was awesome. And then I gave it up because, life got in the way. And then last spring, I was interviewing David Rao on the Music Ed Mentor podcast. You should totally look it up because it's an amazing episode with David. And we were sharing tips for elementary music teaching. And I was like, well, I wish that I had my guitar because I'm just not that great at piano. And he was like, oh, you should take up ukulele. And I was like, actually, I should. And so I did, right? Me, who has 1,000 other things. And this was 2 months before that 3-day professional development conference, the International Music Education Summit. And I took up ukulele and started learning it. And I started doing it every night. And now that is part of my nighttime routine. I tuck the kids in bed. I go in and write out my next day and do all of my planning and decision making because honestly, decision fatigue is like the plague of my life. And then I pull out my ukulele and my husband pulls out his ukulele and we play and sing together while the kids fall asleep. It's awesome. Seriously, best part of my day. You've got to engage in some professional development because if you don't, you're going to feel like you're stagnating. And feeling like the stagnation of life is one of the key factors in avoiding burnout, right? Recognizing that maybe what you just need to do is challenge yourself a little bit in some way. So find those blogs that you love. Maybe that's part of your morning routine is to read a different blog post because you've been saving them. You've got them on Pinterest or Evernote or you've emailed them to yourself or they're in your Facebook saves. Why don't you spend 5 minutes in the morning and read through some of those, right? Listen to a podcast on your commute. I highly recommend the Music Ed Mentor podcast. But there are lots of them out there for music teachers to support you and to help you in your own personal and professional development and growth. Okay. Do online conferences of all kinds, including your local music education conferences. That in-person networking is so invaluable. And also online conferences and workshops like this one. Okay. Good for you guys for engaging in your cognitive wellness. Okay. Organizational wellness. If you're not being organized, you're not being prepared, you're not having plans and goals, you're not striving for that continuous improvement that builds confidence. So find a method that works for you: apps, calendars, notebooks, emails, whiteboards, whatever it takes. Okay. You need to, maybe it's your emotional wellness that is out of balance. And that's really being in control of our emotions. That's practicing that happiness and being able to tap into it at any given moment. Okay. Even when we aren't in control of the situation. That's what emotional wellness is. And that daily meditation and tapping into the mindfulness bit, that's what's going to help you with that. Okay. Takes practice, more practice. Oh, and this is another one I'm giving you guys all my favorite websites, zenhabits.com. Just look at it. Okay. He's going to make you want to give away all your stuff and become a minimalist, but it's amazing. Okay. Maybe it's your spiritual wellness. It's that, and that's our connection to the things beyond the physical, whatever that happens to be for you. This is your inner purpose, right? This is the meaning behind what all of you're doing. And if you're missing that piece, then you're going to feel that wheel out of balance. All right. This could be your religious or spiritual practice or whatever that means to you. Okay. Your social wellness. Now, this is a big one that we tend to forget. Social wellness is a skill that we can learn. Diplomacy is something that not everybody's born with, right? But that we can learn and will absolutely change our lives. You know, those teachers who you have conflicts with, by learning diplomacy and learning how to look at things from their point of view is and having that social wellness and building that rapport and that spirit of confidence in your colleagues, that can be huge in avoiding burnout for you, right? Okay, so this social wellness is going to help you feel connected to others. Learning diplomacy is going to help you deal with others for a positive outcome. It's going to help you with conflict resolution. And it, most of all, helps you advocate for yourself and your programs. Okay, I'm going to keep going here. Here's your top tips. All of that, all of those little things on the cog, all of those wellness pieces, I've compiled them all for you with how-tos in the Guide to Thrive. Okay, so you can check that out if you desire. If you feel like that work-life balance thing is just not happening for you and you want to do it better, that's how. All right. Another quote from one of our surveys. I believe strongly in work-life balance. While I love my job, I always remember it is a job and not my whole life. I try to be efficient with my planning and keep performances simple. Okay. Finally, number 7, create a community. You don't have to do this alone. You never have to do this alone. There's so many of us out there. We often feel, this is important because we often do feel very isolated, both physically, because our music rooms are way out there, and socially. Maybe we even go, between different schools. We don't have time to meet with people to develop these core essential relationships. We may be the only music teacher in our school or in our district, and we need to have safe places to turn to for education, resources, and support. It's very vital for us. So here's how to do it. And I have to tell you, going back to why this is important. In my situation, I told you I'm a K-8 teacher at a private K-8 Catholic school. For the last 3 years, I wasn't the only music teacher. There was a separate band teacher, and he decided to retire at the end of last year. And my principal asked if I'd be willing to come on full time. And so I did. That means that I am now the only music teacher in my private Catholic school, which is not in the district. And there's sometimes like some hardship associated with that, right? Like I can't go out for some of the grants that the public schools can. Now, I have some really great opportunities for building my own personal community by being the director of our community band. a lot of the band members are music teachers in the district. And so I'm able to meet with them and collaborate with them and joke around with them and tap into a lot of the similar resources that they have. By serving on our district foundation board, I was able to connect with a lot of music teachers in that way as well. Because I have my music education podcast, I'm able to get in touch with other music teachers and tap into them from all over the world. But it's all been something I've proactively done. Okay. No other music teacher has just fallen into my lap to offer me resources and help. All right. Do I still feel isolated sometimes? You bet. And when I do, I walk down to the office and chat with my friends. All right, so here's how to do it. Reach out to other music teachers. Be proactive. Reach out to retired teachers. Ask them to come in and volunteer and help the kids in your school. I just switched a percussionist to oboe, which means that once a week, my oboe playing volunteer comes in and we get to chat about it. And she taught public music education for 30 years, right? Make friends with your colleagues in your school. When I'm feeling particularly isolated, I don't just go to the office. I go sit with my 3rd and 4th grade teacher friends, and then I convince them all that we need to go out to happy hour. Follow the blogs that you love. There are so many amazing resources out there for elementary, middle school. Band Directors Talk Shop is a fantastic engagement point, both on the blog. They collect posts from all over music teaching, and their Facebook page always has wonderful engagement. Tamara and Emily just do a fantastic job. So if you are a band teacher, definitely Band Directors Talk Shop, tap into all of those wonderful resources. Okay. It's just fantastic. All right. Make friends outside of music education too. I have hiking buddies that I go out with. They know nothing about teaching music. Few of them do some performance things now and then, but that's pretty much it. And it's actually a reprieve for me to not feel like I have to divulge everything, especially because my family are all musicians, right? I don't like to talk to them about work. Podcasts, of course, like the Music Ed Mentor podcast, professional development, build those social networks, and of course, social media. But I'm going to say this, truth bomb. Facebook groups are great. They're great for a lot of things, but negativity also totally can creep in, right? And you guys know this. You may post something that you feel is really positive or like a really easy request, and someone else might see that in a very negative way and then launch into you. Or if you're posting about really like you're venting about your day, you're posting really negative things, and maybe you don't feel like they're negative, but they could come across negative, like it totally just can compound the situation. So I'm just going to give you a little air of caution in this way. Okay. Your thoughts become your beliefs become your habits, and your habits create your happiness. And I'm going to go one more statement that your words manifest reality. So if you speak it, that's what's going to become. So if you're venting about all the horrible things about your job, about the horrible day that you had, about these awful parents who pulled their kid out of choir because she was just way too good to be in your choir, right? You get to decide if that's something that you want to speak into reality and you want to have recurringly happening to you. Because if you can turn it around to something really positive, then you're effectively asking for more positive in your life. It goes back to that gratitude thing, right? Okay, that's all I'm going to say about that. Here is another quote from our survey. Support. Colleagues, family, help in the tough times. That is how this music teacher has avoided burnout. So I promised you practical strategies you can implement today to stave off burnout forever. I gave you 7 specific strategies and lots of little strategies within those 7 specific strategies. Today, you learned how to enjoy your job no matter what your current situation is or the challenges you face. And that's by practicing happiness and mindfulness every day and applying it throughout your day, every day. We talked about what you need to do to turn things around tonight. And that is whichever one of these strategies that you have gravitated towards, that's the one you're going to start with, okay? The one that gets you most excited. I gave you some exact steps to take every day to prepare yourself at night for the next day and in the morning for owning your day and manifesting the kind of day that you want to have. How to find the time for activities you crave, and that is by delegating that time, by dedicating it, and by saying no to other commitments. We talked about easy ways to feel better throughout your day. I love lights and totems and little joys, and how to be proactive on those particularly stressful days, okay? We talked about how to obtain that work-life balance you feel you're lacking. It may be more than just work and life. It may be any one of those wellness things on that cog. And we talked about how to better manage your classroom behaviors, and that's by better managing yourself. Those are your 7 self-care strategies for battling burnout. So take action is your next step. Which one of these strategies will you implement tonight? And I'm going to backtrack to this slide so that you can think about it for a second, okay? Go ahead and type it into the chat window too if you would like to share which one of these 7 strategies or the little sub-strategies that were in them that you are going to be most excited about and tap into tonight. Guys, we have an awesome job. We do things that so few other people can, or even that they have an opportunity to do. We have an amazing job, and you get to create it. You get to be the deciding factor. If you are struggling with other colleagues, then work on your diplomacy. If you're struggling on classroom management, then learn more about it and try new things. If what you're trying isn't working, try something new. If you're finding that you're not being joyful throughout the day, set up reminders for yourself to be joyful. If you're finding you're not having time to do the things that you really love, set those required boundaries. Don't bring work home. Set aside the time that you need to accomplish the things that you do, whether that's daily, weekly, or monthly. And find that time, the important thing to take care of yourself, okay? One final quote. Don't take things personally. I value my life outside of work highly. Others' responses and comments do not define me. Always, always find the appreciative and joyful students. They are why we do this job. Okay. Now is your chance for any questions. Oh, thank you guys so much. We have Hallie, hopefully Hallie or Haley, she's going to write out her plan for tomorrow to get herself mentally ready. And Elizabeth, thank you for coming. I'm glad that you all enjoyed this. Tamari, thank you. And thank you for all the work that you do on Band Directors Talk Shop. Oh, Miranda, she uses essential oils. I was using that too. I had like an essential oil lavender spray that I was using in my classroom every day. But then I was a little worried about allergies. So I moved it to our little teacher area. And then our staff in the office ended up stealing it for like the little kids' sick room. Anyway, you guys are so welcome. And if you have any questions at all, here's all of my information. Contact at professionalmusiceducator.com, or it might be info@professionalmusiceducator.com. But either way, you can find me there. Or, of course, the Music Ed Mentor podcast. Please subscribe and like it. We bring on new guests every other week. You can find me on Facebook, friend me on Facebook. I love my Facebook friends. It's such a positive, outrageously awesome bunch of people that I get to interact with. I love having music teachers as Facebook friends. You can like my Facebook page, Professional Music Educator. I don't spam anything on there. I only give really great stuff that I think you would find useful. My personal mission, I forgot to mention, is to do things like this for music teachers, is to teach you the entrepreneurial and business type skills that you just don't get in college, but that are essential so that you have a build and manage and grow thriving school music programs and have long and happy careers. You can check out my website, elisajanson.com, and of course, the musicedsummit.org. You guys are so welcome again. And of course, big thank you to Make Music and Smart Music for all that they do. Thank you, Ryan, for inviting me, and Scott for doing the blog and all of their amazing, amazing resources. Just so fantastic. So, and yes, you guys are so welcome. Please stay in touch, friend me on Facebook, all of that good stuff. Okay. And I want to show you this, and then I'll go back to my contact information because it's just so cute. Ryan, is that you coming back on?
Yeah, thank you so much. This is wonderful. If this is your first time seeing Elisa present, I can tell you that this is how good every single thing she does is. Every podcast episode has this many tips, all of the stuff she writes. We can't recommend her stuff enough. It is so awesome to get to work with her. Thank you all so much for being here, and hopefully you got stuff that you can start doing right away. And it's definitely stuff that everybody needs to hear. So thank you again to Elisa.
All right. Thanks, Ryan.
Yeah, thanks, everybody.